Story 1. Self-awareness is not about a peace and love kind of way, but the kind that makes people actually see the damage they have caused, sit with it, and feel the weight of it. Story 2. Projectile vomiting and explosive diarrhea every weekend that only subsides just in time for them to return to work Monday morning. Story 3. An endless itch that was always present but moved around the body. The itch you could never reach, always in a different spot every time. Story 4. To have kidney stones like I do. No pain when they pass from the kidney to the bladder, but they get stuck in my urethra or bladder sphincter and cannot be passed. This requires a Foley catheter, where they have to push the stone back into the bladder. You have the catheter for a few weeks until surgery can be performed to go up through the urethra and blast the stones with a laser. This has happened to me 3 times now, and I am genuinely traumatized from having to have Foley catheters. I had a catheter when I was 12 that was so awful that even the thought of one makes me tense up with anxiety and fear. Pushing the stone back into the bladder is the absolute worst. Story 5. Everyone around her realizes how unpleasant she is and leaves her. She is friendless. It drives her to such a point of depression that she takes her own life. Alone. When people find out, they laugh. When I was sent to the mental hospital for 2 weeks, she lied to everyone at my school and said she saw me jump off the stairs, attempting suicide, breaking my arms and legs, and then banging my head on a locker until it cracked open. People laughed. My friends' parents did not want me around their children anymore, fearing I would be a bad influence. I am only 14, but she ruined my life and manipulated everyone around her, including adults, into thinking she was an angel and I was mentally unstable. She also lied and said she saw me drawing bloody knives during class. I have no idea why she did all of this. Story 6. Irritable bowel syndrome occurs whenever individuals are having a good time. It does not matter what type of good time they are having or who they are with. Story 7. I have read this somewhere. May your crotch be infested with the fleas of 1,000 camels, and may your arms be too short to scratch it. Story 8. My former manager. I want them to have the most realistic dream that they are going to be late for work every time they have a day off. I mean the whole ordeal. Their alarm doesn't go off. Their car won't start. All routes to work are blocked by some random construction zone or accident. Finally, as they run to clock in, they see their supervisor and wake up in a cold sweat with their heart pounding. This is my occasional nightmare for a toxic job I quit 20 years ago. It sucks every time. Story 9. Every time they leave, they drop their keys and stub their toes simultaneously. Every time they sneeze, they poop a little, just enough to notice and be uncomfortable, but not enough to claim a medical emergency, so the social situation is just as uncomfortable. Every time they face true north, they vomit. They can never figure out the correlation, so it is a surprise every single time. Story 10. To almost always get exactly what they want, but it always falls short at the last minute. Eternal false hope with never anything to show for it. Story 11. May they never know the joy of true love for all the manipulation and abuse they put me through. They are allowed love but not true love. Story 12. General worst enemy. To be on the perpetual brink of scurvy but be allergic to citrus and vitamin C tablets that are impossible to consume. The actual worst enemy, not self. To forever live with the fact that they lost any chance of me feeling true love for them. To be tormented for the rest of their days with the realization they truly had not put in effort in having a relationship with me, and any chance they could have had was lost when they lied to the people around them repeatedly, hurting all of us in the process. The actual worst enemy, self. To be able to feel truly alive and filled with life again instead of the vague void of barely feeling emotions without the input of those close to me. I love them, but I also want to be able to feel by myself. To find a path in life that could make me, one way or another, both able to survive and happy. And if not that, then a fast, painless death where at least someone would remember me. Story 13. 1 Lego in each sock at the start of a marathon. You cannot stop or rest until it is done. Full marathon. Story 14. They get so close to their dreams. They are just an inch away, and it comes crashing down all the way to rock bottom. But they do not give up, and they make it all the way back up, only for it to crash down again, over and over. Yes, push that boulder. Story 15. I don't know. I'm not angry right now and I don't have an enemy, but in my calm mindset right now, I'd probably just wish for something petty like hide the TV remote. He finds it after a long time, but it only has one battery instead of two. Remove one sock from each pair. Unplug all electronics, including the phone charger, laptop, computer, and monitors. Adjust the seat settings in his car and lift the wiper blades straight up. My father used to do that as a security measure for people who parked poorly. Those are the ones I've just come up with, but I'm sure I could think of other things to do. Story 16. They stub their toe, and just when the pain is about to go away, they stub it again and again until they die. Story 17. I used to live in South Florida. Truly, my biggest fear as a human is being killed by an alligator or constricting snake. A distinct possibility if you find yourself alone in the Everglades. So when I truly hate someone, I daydream of chaining a pork chop around their neck and dropping them off in the middle of the Everglades. Story 18. She is a narcissist. Therefore, I wish that nobody would ever acknowledge her in any way except to point out her flaws and faults. Story 19. Honesty. I wish people could see others for who they truly are. I would wish them the curse of honesty so no one would ever be trapped with them again. Story 20. My worst enemy is my third-grade bully. I wish she never realizes she was a bully to me. We were both 8-year-old kids, and I don't want her to remember something she did and feel bad about herself. I'm over it, and there is no need for her to remember her 8-year-old, very mild wrongdoing in hindsight. Story 21. I hope their next project is a Lego garage. I hope they stub their toe at every opportunity. I hope their tea is forever lukewarm and therefore undrinkable. Story 22. Honestly, enough happiness and salvation will make them reflect on their unjust mistreatment of me and those negatively impacted by them. Story 23. That someone would treat him the way he treated me, and he would know how it made me feel and the damage it caused and still causes me. Story 24. Make them see themselves as everyone else sees them, instead of the saintly self-image they seem to have. Story 25. I am probably going to get downvoted for this, but physical torture. I really cannot be certain, but it seems like they ruin my life. Story 26. May they stub their toe on every door frame and errant piece of furniture they walk by for the remainder of their years. Story 27. Listen, my worst enemy is currently in a big white old house. I have hidradenitis suppurativa. Normally, I would not wish it on people, but Story 28. The feeling of always having stepped on a Lego in one of her feet. There is no Lego, but it will always feel annoying. Story 29. Stepping on Lego bricks with thumbtacks inside them, pointy side out, while walking around in the dark at night when going to the bathroom. Story 30. I feel a slight itch between the top of her thigh and her underwear, but only when she is in a public place. Story 31. I wish for them to have severe toe-clenching diarrhea that lasts for an hour every Tuesday at precisely 12:08 p.m. for the rest of their life. Story 32. Honestly, just public humiliation on a global scale. My only real enemy happens to be running a certain country. I don't have any worst enemy personally. Just someone who doesn't know I exist but negatively impacts my life and mental health with every action and word spoken because they are generally an awful person. Story 33. Wish for them to experience what they impose on others. Going to be an unpleasant person? Here you go, one dose of comeuppance. Story 34. I genuinely cannot think of anyone with whom I know each other and consider each other so bad and so important in our lives that we would say, yeah, that person is my worst enemy. About 20 years ago, I got into a fight and ended up with black eyes and a broken nose. Honestly, I wish that person serenity, tranquility, and peace. We have not been in each other's lives since, but I hope they are living a much less violent life, just as I have been. We are not enemies. There are political figures around the world right now whom I wish would contract viral meningitis, lose all their limbs and their reproductive organs, and be brain damaged to the point where they could not communicate. If you have spent the past 30 or more years directing military action against civilians, you deserve to suffer greatly, but after a couple of decades, that would make you beg for relief. They are not my enemies insofar as they do not even know who I am, But if you burn children alive, you deserve all of that. Story 35. Constant, unrelenting, undeniable, genuine self-awareness. The kind where they cannot deny to themselves who they really are, cannot push away their fears, and all the lies they tell themselves to get through the day with their sense of self intact fall apart. No more hiding from themselves, no more ability to craft self-protective illusions, none of that. They get to experience their own internal total perspective vortex. Story 36. Slow internet. Nothing brings out the rage quite like an internet connection that cannot even reach dial-up speeds. 24 kilobits per second ought to work. Story 37. Testicular torsion. Specifically, this information was transferred from my friend who experiences it often due to unusual biological conditions. Do not worry if you think that is too harsh. He cheated on my best friend and tried to manipulate her into thinking she was the problem. Story 38. Unfortunately, I am pretty bitter and hateful, so I truly dislike her with no limits. Yes, I know I should seek therapy, but I cannot afford it. Story 39. Having to sit in a room for years, hearing nothing but the annoying sound of nails scraping against a chalkboard. Story 40. Explosive diarrhea in traffic on the way to work is one I have fallen back on a few times. A couple of times it has worked too. Story 41. Like from the Bob Dylan song, something like, I wish you could stand in my shoes to know what a drag it is to see you. Story 42. To get the runs in the middle of a very crowded public square surrounded by tourists who are filming and taking pictures while wearing white trousers. Story 43. My first girlfriend's dad was very unpleasant to me. When I broke up with her, I hoped and prayed that he would get cancer or something terrible. 5 years later, I found out he developed Parkinson's disease, and I felt very bad for him. I kind of feel like it's my fault. I literally tried all forms of prayer and black magic to wish a terrible illness on him. I don't feel good about it at all. Story 44. Warm pillows on both sides, permanently wet shoelaces and slightly wet socks, itchy spots that change when scratched, recurring paper cuts, ingrown toenails, prone to stubbing toes, public harassment by crows, cats, and other animals, unable to open tuna cans or sharp containers without getting cut, getting splashed by cars when it rains, but only when the drivers are in a bad mood, which makes it worse. Story 45. A urinary tract infection. I had one last spring for the first time, and it really hits that sweet spot between being non-fatal but ridiculously inconvenient and uncomfortable. Story 46. You wake up in a small room with one door and no windows. You're barefoot. The floor is covered entirely in Lego bricks. Not just any Lego bricks. Those tiny, angular, foot-shattering ones that feel like medieval punishment. The walls and ceiling are crawling with bed bugs. Occasionally, one drops. You never know when. Sometimes it's on your neck. Sometimes it's worse. Every 10 minutes, strobe lights go off. Bright, chaotic, disorienting. You have front seats to a rave light show, and if you make even the slightest sound, a recording of a baby crying blares through hidden speakers. Loud. For a full hour. It overrides everything. You cannot stop it. In the corner of the room, there is a television. It turns on at random intervals. Sometimes it plays a non-stop monologue from a random person you have ever met or seen. It could be your mother-in-law, Donald Trump, or that one friend who asks for your opinion but does not want it. Other times, it shows exactly what you crave the most. Food, freedom, a soulmate, just out of reach. You can see it, but you cannot have it. If you destroy the television or try to turn it off, a random mosquito will be released into the room from a small air duct. The mosquito has a 50% chance of carrying dengue fever, a 49% chance of carrying something else, and a 1% chance of being safe. Your only way out. Hidden somewhere among the painful bricks are 4 Lego pieces, each with a number. That is the code. Get it right and the door unlocks. Get it wrong, the door seals again, and you must wait 3 to 5 business days to try again. No resets. That would be my wish. A custom torture room. Story 47. David Sedaris gets the credit for making me aware of this, which I believe is a Romanian staple. May they build a house out of their kidney stones. Story 48. some sort of skin disease on there, but that would itch terribly every time they sat down and make them think of every cruel act that they had ever done. Story 49. The full extent of what they deserve and knowing where it came from. Story 50. Chronic back pain that never goes away and cannot be fixed. It is a constant, never-ending pain at a level of 5 or 6. It is not excruciating but definitely life-altering and life-limiting. Story 51. A constant rash in the worst places possible, so when they think it is healed, it will just appear again continuously. Story 52. They stub their toe, and right before it heals, they stub it again continuously. They also cannot get used to the pain. Story 53. I want them to die alone of dehydration, naked, duct taped to a metal folding chair in a cold subterranean concrete room with a single floor drain, left alone in the well-lit room with nothing but a list of everyone they have hurt taped to the wall directly in front of them. Story 54. Kidney stones will not kill you. They are painful enough to make you wish you were dead. The pain is sheer agony, and you may urinate blood. Kidney stones are frequently recurrent. Story 55. Clarity. A complete understanding of what they have done and the ramifications of it, coupled with a complete inability to ignore it. Story 56. Their life being destroyed, followed by attempts to end themselves, and then a stay in the mental hospital. Story 57. Justice. Not revenge. Not judicial system justice. Real-world consequential justice. Personally experiencing the effects of whatever ill intent they have bestowed onto others. Story 58. Nothing. Do not do unto others what you would not have them do unto you. Besides, I do not have enemies. Story 59. To live as the poor. To be convicted of their many crimes and watch their money lift up the social classes they believe themselves to be above. My worst enemy right now is the wealthy, narcissistic class that is literally destroying our world. Story 60. I would wish them a long life. Every day they would have to wake up and be the horrible person they are. I cannot think of a worse punishment. Story 61. They step on a Lego brick in the middle of the night regularly. Not often enough to make them accustomed to the experience, but just often enough that they are always quietly afraid to walk around at night. Story 62. I wish some people could feel all the pain they have caused in their hearts and the physical pain they have caused in their bodies. Story 63. Depression, anxiety, inability to function as an adult, sleeplessness day and night, cancer, various diseases, and a slow, painful death. Story 64. To receive a slightly inconvenient injury, such as a badly stubbed toe, and just after it heals completely, to stub it again repeatedly until the end of time. Story 65. On good days, I wish for them to grow and become better as a person. On bad days, I wish for them to see how they have hurt other people and let it weigh on them so heavily that they cannot stand it. Story 66. Perpetually wet socks. They get a nice dry pair straight from the machine. The second they touch their feet, they are soaked. Story 67. One small sharp rock that never stabs your foot, but makes it uncomfortable to step on and you can never remove. Story 68. Instantaneous death. I am fine with it being quick and painless, but as long as he exists, little girls are unsafe. Story 69. I wish he would try to fight me, a martial arts trained person, so I can defeat him instead. I am a counterfighter. I never hit first and only defend myself, so I do not go overboard. But yes, I wish he would. Story 70. My actual worst enemy is pretty low stakes. I guess I just hope she ends up lonely because it is what she deserves. Story 71. They never individuate and must live this meaningless existence repeatedly until understanding occurs. This applies to 90% of us. Story 72. Here are some ideas from George. Story 73. Live forever or be immortal. Watch every family member, friend, spouse, and child's funeral in the front row, but you cannot die. Story 74. Immolation after being given drugs to increase nerve sensitivity, but that would mean Vance would become president. I guess there is always more fuel oil. Story 75. Socks getting wet often, random blisters from their favorite shoes, never being able to find a pair of matching socks, The truth finally coming out about them, running out of petrol 50 kilometers away from the service station, just little inconveniences. I could not wish anything too horrible on them as they are unfortunately related to one of my best friends and I do not want to hurt her. Story 76. Clicking on a website element causes an advertisement to appear at the last second, forcing the user to close the pop-up tab. Story 77. They live far away and never come to my mind again. How they are doing is meaningless to me, as long as they stop existing in my world. Story 78. For them to become rational, intelligent, and kind humans who contribute to the world like people invested in morals do, and who end up inspiring several others to change their paths. Story 79. I want him to meet a Night Lord. Yes, I know most people will not understand that, but those who do understand just how much I hate this person. Story 80. May the fleas of 1,000 camels infest their armpits, and may their arms be too short to scratch them. Story 81. If she is staying far away from me, I am completely fine with that. She messes up her own life faster than I could wish upon her. Story 82. Always having the feeling that there is some urine left after urinating, but not being able to release it. They just have to walk around with the sensation that it is about to flow out without control. Story 83. Feeling what borderline personality disorder is like just for a week. Not permanently because I would never wish that on anyone, but just for a week. High contribution to me developing it. Story 84. I honestly do not consider anyone I parted ways with as an enemy. I wish them nothing but the best and want them out of my life. That is all. Story 85. One of her boyfriends slept with her best friend behind her back for months. Double betrayal. Story 86. I hope every animal in their immediate vicinity becomes suspicious and hostile toward them exclusively, creating intense mistrust in any pet owner who encounters them. Story 87. That someone would point out that worse is a comparative form, when in fact they should have said worst enemy. Or maybe they meant worse. Then the question would be, worse than what? Story 88. I do not have any enemies, but if I did, may they live while everything they love withers and dies. May they live forever filled with sorrow. Story 89. To find a job in a distant city so they could move there and I would not have to see them anymore. Story 90. A pox on you and your kin. Edit. Changed the to a, as apparently that is more commonly used and changed kind to kin to more clearly refer to their family, not the entire human race. Story 91. That the fleas of 1,000 camels infest their crotch and their arms are too short to scratch them. Story 92. Always getting underserved and inconvenienced anywhere they go. Going to McDonald's, there are fewer fries than normal and they are always soggy. Go to a coffee shop, your coffee isn't that hot. It's actually almost cold. Go to a theme park, half the rides are closed due to maintenance. That type of problem occurs for the rest of their life. Story 93. I have everything he has. In other words, his wife divorces him and marries me. His children see me as their true father and never acknowledge him again. He gets fired from his job, which I take over. I live in a beautiful, luxurious home, and he lives under a bridge. Story 94. A level of pain that is just shy of unbearable. Not so much that you would try to harm yourself, but not weak enough that you can just ignore it and carry on with your life. Story 95. Being genuinely clinically depressed, I enjoy copy-paste days where having a little sleep in between is the best part of life. Story 96. My comment would be deleted and I would receive a warning for my account. So no, I will not describe what I wish. Also, what is the point? There is no justice in this world, so my wishes will not come true anyway. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.